Hello everybody, hope you guys are doing amazing. Today we're going to do an interesting lesson. We're going to talk about letter writing and we're going to talk about formal letter writing. So we write formal letters in all cases. Nobody can avoid them. You know, if you're working or if you're applying for jobs or if you have a business, you're talking to customers. In every case, you write formal letters. And if you're doing CELPIP or IELTS, you're doing formal letters. So you need to know the vocabulary that is used for it. And the words that I'm going to use are the ones that are most often encountered whenever you write formal letters. You know, things like I'm looking forward to, or this is my recommendation, or I'm disappointed. You know, all those things, you will see them every time. So if you use more unique words, it looks original, it sounds better, sounds versatile. And also, if you're doing IELTS or CELPIP, you need to use some unique words to show the examiner your engagement with better vocab. So let's get started. The first word for today in the formal letters is lodge. So L-O-D-G-E, lodge, means register. Now, when do we use it? Well, when you make a complaint. You know, a complaint is the most common thing in CELPIP or IELTS writing. You're complaining to someone, so how people say, I want to make a complaint, just say, I want to lodge a complaint. Simple. You know, if you lodge a complaint, it sounds fancy, obviously. Okay, number 2 is proposal. It's an easy word, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because we have a lot of letters where we make suggestions. In fact, most letters day to day are made for suggestions. So next time you want to say, I want to make a suggestion or I want to make a recommendation, just say, I have a proposal for you, or there's an interesting proposal that I would like to share. Number 3 is the word predicament. Predicament is a bad situation. So you have a letter and you are complaining about the unsanitary condition in your gym. So you can say the predicament in the gym is the hygiene problem. So again, predicament is a terrible or a bad situation. Fancy word. Number 4 is acknowledge. Acknowledge, once again, is a much more common word than the rest on this list. But I want to mention that because the usage of the word acknowledge could be used when you are confirming something. Okay, so you can talk to someone in the letter. You might be saying to that person, I hope you agree to the fact, or I hope you understand the fact, or I hope you see the fact, like maybe your luggage is lost at the airport, and you're saying that I hope you... Well, I'm sure you can acknowledge that flight 108 had some baggage problems. So instead of saying, I'm sure you understand, you're saying, I know you can acknowledge. It makes you sound more fancy. Okay, number 5 is dejected. A lot of letters, most of them are for complaining, right? You don't write letters formally for happiness. Like, it's mostly a complaint. So you say you're disappointed with room service, you're disappointed with the server. You can say you are dejected with the service. Now, be careful when you use it. Dejected means sad or depressed. So it must be at a level where it really hurts you. So maybe someone was rude. The server in this restaurant was rude and it dejected my guests because they were here for a good time. Okay, so it made them really sad or depressed. The next word is disconcerted. So I put this together. Disconcerted is something similar, but it's not quite upset or discouraged or disgusted. The real meaning of disconcerted is unsettled or confused. So you can say, when I got this big bill on my credit card, I was disconcerted, you know, showing that you were confused or you didn't know what was going on, you were unsettled, or better to say disconcerted. Okay, rendezvous. This is fancy. I think this is French, but a lot of fancy people want to use it, and that's why we got to learn it. But it's good if you want to use it to sound fancy yourself. Rendezvous means a meeting point or a place. A place or a time, I should say. Sorry. Place or time, okay? Rendezvous at 5 p.m. Time. Rendezvous at the Caesar's Palace. Place. Rendezvous at Caesar's Palace at 5 p.m. Time and place. Okay, so you can use that when you're giving times, when you're inviting people to some organization or a place, or you want to ask, is the rendezvous at 4 p.m. tomorrow? So it's fancy than asking the time, is the time this or is the place? Replace simple words with fancier ones. Urge, number 8. Common word, but again, I'm mentioning this here so you know where to use it. So many times you're requesting something, right? In formal letters, you are requesting something. So I need to know, or can you please make these changes, right? So you can say, I urge you to make these changes. Like you are forcing this person politely. It's like requesting, but with a little bit of force. You urge someone to do something, whatever you need to be done. A lot of times that's what happens when you are given the question of making a recommendation or a suggestion. So you can urge them to do something. The next word is ought to. Ought to is the easiest replacement for should. Once again, making suggestions is a common thing in formal letters, and instead of saying you should do something, you ought to do something. Ought to is way more fancy, so use that. The next word is query. Once again, a simple word, a common word, but not commonly used, because when people have a question, what do they say? I have a question for you. Rarely do I see I have a query for you. So some students want to do that, but some students want to say interrogation. Interrogation, guys, is different. You know, interrogation is when there's a suspect and the police is interviewing them for a crime. Like, it's way more serious. So don't use that. People say sometimes, I want to interrogate you on that question. That's wrong. That's like very serious. So normal queries are inquiries. You can use that as a noun, or you want to use it as, let's say you have a question for someone. I have a query for you. Way more fancy. The next word is deemed. Now, where you use it is when something is considered to be something. For example, this meeting is considered important. You can say this meeting is deemed important. So it means that is the relevance to the meeting. It's deemed importance, which means it's considered important. Now, this is something I wouldn't say you can use in any like recommendation or problem or dissatisfaction. You can use it in anything. You know, you can use it in normal English, day-to-day life, or wherever you want to say that this is considered this. So deemed necessary is the most common one. You can also say it's deemed unnecessary, or it's deemed classified, you know, if it's secret, if it's classified information. So I wanted to put this word here because many times we in formal letters say that this is supposed to be this, or this file is considered to be this, or my matter should be deemed urgent because, you know, the basement is flooding, for example. So you can use it in a variety of situations, actually. Knuckle under. Okay, it sounds informal. You know, when I first heard it, it sounded informal. I just, before making this list, I Google checked it. It is actually formal. So again, knuckle under means you give in to something. So maybe you're making excuses why you were late to work. You're writing a letter to your boss. Okay, so you can say, I'm sorry, boss, this happened. You know, I had 2 jobs and I knuckled under the stress. I got sick and I had to take a day off. So knuckle under means you were too overwhelmed with something. You gave in to that and you had to, you came under that pressure and something else happened because you knuckled under this pressure. Another example could be, I couldn't say, well, this is a proposal thing, but it's not formal, but you can use it. For example, these lessons are for daily life as well. So, when the guy proposed, she knuckled under the pressure because everybody was looking. So again, gave into some pressure. The next word is conform. So again, I thought a very common thing people say in letters is agreement, right? So when you agree to something, you can say, I conform to your rules and I will follow them from now. Or when you want the other person to agree with you. So you can, you know how you say, I hope you agree with the Health Canada regulations. I hope you conform with Health Canada regulations. Conform and agree, same thing. Fancier to say conform. The second last word is assent. Assent is approval. Okay, so you need approval, you need permissions. That's when you write letters. I need your permission. I need your assent. Next time, say I need your assent. That means you need their permission or approval. It's more fancy than saying permission or approval. And the last word for today is satiate. Satiate, very easy to learn. It just means satisfy. Okay, so satiate, you know, the chocolate satiated my hunger for sugar. That is what I would say in normal life, like it satisfied my hunger. Otherwise, I would say, I hope these changes satiate your requirements, dear customer, when you write to a customer. Or you're complaining to this shop for their infrastructure or whatever, you know. you say at the end that if you follow these recommendations, I'm sure it will satiate your customers. Instead of saying it will satisfy me, satisfy your customers, it will satiate us. It's way more fancy, much better. More fancy vocab means more marks if you're doing these exams, and more fancy vocab otherwise means you're a great learner and a really good speaker or writer in this case when you write letters. Letters, by the way, I mean letters or emails, they're the same things. You know, you're these days not writing too many letters, you're writing emails. But these words can also be used in texts, okay? As long as you talk to formal people, use these 15 words to improve your level of vocab and how you communicate. Subscribe for more information, for more lessons like this. Next week, we have the lesson on informal words, 15 words for informal letters. That's hard. That's harder than formal because with formal words, you can use a lot of variety. With informal letters, there's very limited things you can use. So I was having a hard time compiling that list, but stay tuned, subscribe, and you will get the notification for next week when we continue part 2 of this series. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Talk to you soon.